All right, guys, with all that's going on, how about some good news this week? The U.S. Supreme Court ruled Monday 8-1 in favor of free speech and justice for those whose rights have been violated by government officials. The court sided with a former Georgia college student who sued his school 5 years ago after officials prevented him from sharing his Christian faith on campus. Alliance Defending Freedom General Counsel Kristen Wagoner said, "This is a win for all Americans, no matter what your faith, politics, or ideology." With cancel culture ripping through our land, we need more cases like this to stop the communist madness and side with the Constitution and religious freedom. I'm David Fiorazzo, and this is Christ and Culture. His name is Chike Uzobunim, one courageous young man who took a stand for Christ and for freedom, and whose case not only caused Gwinnett College to change its policies, but made it all the way to the Supreme Court. So, what happened? College officials stopped Chike not once, but twice from peacefully sharing his Christian faith with fellow students on campus after demanding he jump through hoops to use a tiny speech zone that was only open 10% of the week. The Georgia College argued that Chike's speech should not receive constitutional protection. Here's what he said prior to the case.
But nonetheless, I got the permission. I signed documents. I indicated what time and what place I was going to be there. I indicated the content of my message. I even submitted the literature that I was going to be handing out. And two police officers came and stopped me again. I just felt frustrated. I felt confused. Why would you encourage debate or vigorous conversation on campus, and then you're telling me to stand in a spot in order for me to share my faith?
God so loved the world that he gave his only son, Jesus, that whoever believes in him will have everlasting life. John 3:16. What an offensive message, right? But stop and think about this for a minute. Last summer, thousands of arsonists, looters, and vandals, and even some murderers had free reign and free speech in any and every public place in America as billions of dollars in damage was done in cities across the country by a godless, globalist, Marxist organization and its minions. And here is a young man who followed the law, did what the college required, got permission to speak on his own college campus, and the police showed up. Something's drastically wrong with this picture. These Democrat double standards have to be exposed for what they are: tyrannical. You and I need to speak up as well because, in case you haven't noticed, our freedoms are being threatened. Kristen Wagoner commented on the case. Listen.
Universities are supposed to be about the free exchange of ideas as we're raising the next generation of leaders. They should be able to speak freely on their campuses. That's one reason why this case is so important, and it's also why it crosses ideological lines. It doesn't matter what your viewpoint is, you want to be able to express that viewpoint and to engage in debate. If the government has no consequences for violating our constitutional rights, then what's the point of having those rights in the first place?
Chike mentioned that other students were also met with the same opposition he was met with. And he added this: when we live in a country where free speech is being silenced, it's no longer free. And a win for me would be a win for all of us. And he was right. In an 8-1, nearly unanimous Supreme Court ruling, that's an excellent sign because we will likely be seeing many more cases as the Biden-Harris administration clamps down on believers and churches and our speech. First Amendment advocates call this decision a huge win for free speech and religious expression. So if you think, like I do, that sharing the gospel is important, I'm sure you agree with this. Now, it is interesting that just over 3 years ago, ADF presented oral arguments before the U.S. Supreme Court on behalf of Colorado cake artist Jack Phillips. In that case, Kristen Wagoner stood before the Supreme Court Looking up at the 9 justices, the courtroom was packed with spectators in the high-profile case, and just after 10 a.m., Chief Justice John Roberts opened to hear arguments in the Masterpiece Cake Shop versus Colorado Civil Rights Commission case. Wagoner only got one sentence out before Ruth Bader Ginsburg interrupted with a question. After that, the questions just kept coming from all sides. Wagoner said this: "The First Amendment prohibits the government from forcing people to express messages that violate religious convictions." So fortunately, ADF advocated for Jack Phillips and the right of all Americans to freely live and work consistently with their beliefs, and the Supreme Court in that case affirmed 7-2 that the government can't discriminate against people of faith by targeting them with hostility. But with today's courts, who knew how the case would go in the alleged free speech zone controversy, especially on a college campus? But once again, this was a huge win for all Americans. For those keeping score, Alliance Defending Freedom has won 11 Supreme Court cases in the last 10 years. Now, I hope this case is a reminder to government and universities and public officials who think it's okay to violate constitutional rights, but don't count on it. Wake up the lesser magistrates. If those in power will not hold tyrannical leaders accountable, it undermines the nation's commitment to protecting constitutional rights, and it emboldens government leaders to engage in future violations. But for today, we can really celebrate and enjoy this major victory for freedom. God bless you, and keep speaking the truth about things that matter. Hey guys, thanks for watching. Most of you know our show is being censored by big tech.
While this makes it harder to meet the cost of producing the show, that's part of it. It also demonstrates that we must be having tremendous success, or they wouldn't bother to try to shut us down.
If you like hearing truth and common sense with a love for freedom, please join the Patriot Club with a one-time $99 tax-deductible donation. And you'll get this sweet vessel of joy as part of a thank you for joining the Patriot Club.
Etched with the American flag and the words freedom never tasted so good.
All you have to do is visit patriotclub.us and become a Patriot member today.
That's patriotclub.us. Thank you and God bless.